Last time on Graveyard Carz, Mark began the arduous task of completely rebuilding a 444 barrel for the 1970 Plum Crazy Victim Challenger.
Just keep doing it, don't I? Like a crazy hyena.
The record-holding Charger General Lee freeway jump car from the 2005 Dukes of Hazzard feature film was completed and delivered, giving the owner a chance to live out his dream of playing Bo Duke and Mark to live out his dream of playing Roscoe P. Coltrane. Coming up this time, Will sneaks in early to paint a GTX, but will the camera crew and the smell of dissension foil his plan? Mark hustles to complete the build of the Plum Crazy Challenger's 444 barrel. Finally, Dave, Mark, and sometimes George deck out the 1970 Lemon Twist Roadrunner from air grabber and pedals to dash and drivetrain. But after they encounter some unexpected surprises, will this numbers-matching 383 take a detour? Coming up on this episode of Graveyard Carz.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Unburied dead are coming back to life.
I'm Mark Warman, and together we bring dead muscle cars back to life, to exactly the way they were on the day they were born.
So right now I have Manning's beautiful GTX in the booth. This is going the Q5 Seafoam Green. And I'm getting ready to head in there, put my first coat of color on it and see how it goes. This isn't stressful. You know, I've done this color a bunch. It's a beautiful color, it's one of my favorites. The only part that becomes stressful is if Mark comes in and interrupts me. Then it gets a little stressful with all the normal antics that Mark brings.
Yeah. Good morning. Thanks for letting me know you're filming today. No, I don't have a sixth sense. I have a nose that can smell dissension in the air, and when these two camera boys who normally show up around noon or 1 at the crack of dawn to come to work, and now they're here early, I know something's going on, all right? I smell it. Sweet. Hey. What time did you get here?
Oh, pretty early.
Why are you painting without me? Why without your...
Because I tried to avoid doing all that with you. So I just come...
What defecation is that?
No, because you always come out and interrupt me.
Don't leave your wingman, man. Never leave your wingman.
You want to come in at 4? So this is where I have to spend the next 30 minutes now dealing with the way he tells us stories, talking about movies, singing songs, telling me that I didn't do a good enough job.
Yeah, I know what Will's doing, all right? To get in early ahead of me. What I don't understand is why. I mean, I'm trying legitimately to help him be the best painter he can be, right? So what's the sense of wanting to get in here and beat me to the booth so he can get it done and I can walk in and criticize it then? It doesn't make sense.
It's one of those jobs that when you're doing a car, you just need to be left alone, and it's just easier to do when he's not around, or in the building for that matter. I got my second coat on, I'm about ready to go and do my third.
That's your second coat?
Yeah. Whatever. This is why I come in early.
I know that Will thinks that I'm out here to torture him, because I have nothing else to do in my whole life, right? But to torture poor little Will Scott, right? Well, by the second coat, that thing should be just bridging out and looking really glossy.
It's gorgeous.
No, it kind of looks more like cottage cheese on there. Anybody like cottage cheese?
Are we talking about your thighs or the paint job? Can I help you? This is why I try to get it all done before he gets here. It never fails. So we've been...
Like Rocky before the big fight. Let me show you how you lay out a coat of paint, Bull. You hold that for a second. No, you're doing nothing.
So like typical Mark, he comes in the booth, he did take the paint gun out of my hand, and before you know it, here comes Mark.
You know, when I pick up the gun, I would imagine it's how a lot of the painters at the Sistine Chapel felt when Angelo came in there and grabbed the brush and said, let me show you how to do it, right?
He's moving real slow and he's real close to that panel, so the chance of that fender coming out good without running it are slim to none.
I've been painting my whole life, right? You've seen some of the masterpieces that I put out that are just second to none, best in show all over the world. Will's almost there. He's getting there, right? But what he's got to do is he's got to learn to befriend that paint gun.
All right, thank you.
I'm working on Zinc 70 Roadrunner. I'm gonna go ahead and plumb out all the fuel lines and brake lines so Mark and I can install the drivetrain.
Bottom line is everybody needs a little tune-up course once in a while. So I just basically went in there, set Will's air pressure to what I thought it should be. He was getting a little seedy on that second coat. By the second coat, it should just be wet like glass. So I have to adjust his gun, move the fluid tip, open it up a little bit, show him the exact 50-50 cover pattern that I like, either 50 to 60%. Where you go over it here and down here, I like a little bit over 50%, maybe 60% overlap. But I think he's got it going on now and should be okay. I'm just gonna wave him in for the last of these and make sure he's okay here. The hand signals, basically, I've adopted those in from the military, and I've just kind of put my own thing on it. So like this, if you're coming in too hot, you're laying too much clear on too fast and you're gonna run it. But you know what, it's like anything. You lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink.
So this is a second car that I've done early in the morning where he's come in before I had a chance to finish it. So the morning thing is not working out. So my next plan of attack is I'm just gonna come in late. I'm gonna wait till he goes home, bring the camera crew, audio girl, and we're gonna go ahead and get it done at night.
Coming up, Mark charges ahead with a 440 Challenger engine build. Dave makes way for the drivetrain and the Lemon Twist Roadrunner. And finally, Mark and Dave install the suspension and numbers matching 383. But will unexpected surprises derail them?
I'm finally at a point where I have some time and I can finish up the 440 for our 1970 Dodge Challenger. Remember, this was Darren's old car. There's one of 916 made with a 440 and a 4-speed. So I'm excited to get this engine put together. With the cylinder heads bolted on, torqued down, we have the heat shields in place, spark plug wire separators, all that stuff is in. I'm gonna put the lifters, push rods, and rocker shaft assembly in next. They're easy to get to. Now's the time to do that. After that, we'll put the intake manifold and exhaust manifolds on. And again, the exhaust manifolds will have some heat shields that go with them. Water pump housing, and harmonic balancer on it. And this thing will be ready to go over for Will to do his paint work. We've got our lifters in place. Let's put our new push rods in. These weave down through the cylinder head. and into the center of the lifter. Nice.
Right now I'm actually installing some body plugs. They're actually all the floor plugs and all the trunk plugs in Zink's Yellow Roadrunner. The drivetrain and suspension and everything is all built out, ready to go in. So I'm just basically trying to get as much stuff as I can done before Mark comes out here and we get that install completed. Yeah, the interesting thing was back in the day, you know, he actually opted to keep the D13, the 3-speed, and not upgraded the D21 4-speed, but yet he also got the N96 air grabber, which is super unique. And the air grabber is more money than the 4-speed, so you would have thought he would have chose the 4-speed, saved a little bit of money, but I mean, how cool is the air grabber? I mean, if I had to choose between the two, I'd definitely go with the air grabber too. I'm working on the pedal assembly on Zink's Roadrunner right now. Once I get all that pedal assembly all detailed and built out, I can go ahead and install that. And then of course after that comes all my underdash insulation, firewall insulation, the heater box, the vents, and everything else that's gonna complete all the firewall, so then I can go ahead and install the dashboard. Zink's Roadrunner is really cool. I love the lemon twist yellow with all the black accents. You know, of course the hood stripe, the air grabber is amazing. And of course, the pistol grip 4-speed in 1970 is so unique because the stick's so long, it comes all the way up and it sits, you know, almost shoulder height whenever you're sitting in the car. Makes it super unique, but just a super cool car and really good looking car, so.
We got our valve train in, it's torqued down into spec, everything is ready to go on the valve train assembly, so we're safe to put the intake manifold on now. This is a 4-barrel car, so I've got the original date-coded intake manifold over there for it. These take a pan gasket on the intake. It's a big metal pan. And what it's designed to do is to crush into place. But you see these high ribs? These are the sealing points when they get crushed down. I still, and the manufacturer recommends a slight bit of silicone sealant on it. I like to use, again, I use our Right Stuff on there, and it seems to be more friendly for paint work down the road. What we'll do is we'll end up putting it in place, and then these end rails, you see these holes right across here? Those are designed to take one of these. That holds the end of it down into place. Goes down into these holes right here. So we're gonna wanna make sure these corners is usually where they can leak, right there where the cylinder head meets the block on the front, as well as where it meets it back here. I like to put a thin bead across here to make sure that we have a good seal between the pan and the block itself, and around all of the openings for the intake so we don't have a vacuum leak. So I'm gonna work on doing that now. Plymouth manufactured the Roadrunner from 1968 all the way through 1980. What option was never available on the 1968 model Roadrunner? Was it 446 barrel, bucket seats, rally wheels, or all the above? Stay tuned after the break for the answer. So what option was it that was not available on the 1968 Plymouth Roadrunner? All of the above. The fact is 1968 was the introductory year for the Roadrunner. It was meant to be cheap and go fast. They didn't care about options and frills and all that stuff. It sold 29,240 copies in 1968. So what happens? By 69, it garners Motor Trend's Car of the Year and is the most sold Mopar muscle car in Chrysler's history. You'll see our holes starting to line up here at the front. We're gonna put our bar down. That's gonna be our retainer. I'll get one screw started in there. That'll help hold that in place while I get the back. So Dave just came and got me. He needs a little bit of help putting the drivetrain in our 1970 Roadrunner. I don't mind a bit. If there's anybody here I don't mind being interrupted by, it's number one, Dave. So I'm gonna go over there and give him a hand, not unlike when Mickey would cut Rocky's eye. Obviously not gonna cut his eye. I'm gonna go over and help him put the engine, the drivetrain, in the Roadrunner. I think around there.
Yep, pretty good there.
Oh, you know what? I think I tightened that son of a down. I did.
Are they? The
Yep.
springs?
Yep, I did it.
And you got your 1/2-inch gun over there, right?
Yep.
Yep, I'm lined up.
Roll her forward.
Look at that, huh?
Gravy, baby. Oh, man. There's...
Bunch of sand in there?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Oh, man, I wouldn't doubt it.
Over the years, we've been dialing in how to get these cars stripped, how to get all the material off of them to start with fresh panels. So for a while, we were doing media blasting. It was either walnut shells or soda. In this particular case, it was a wet sand. That stuff goes everywhere, which is why we don't do it today. It gets in every crevice, every nook, every cranny, and no matter how many times you blow it out, you rotate it over, trickle comes the sand out of the hourglass. Exactly what I think it is.
Yeah.
Do we want to tighten the front down or just have them in place?
I would just leave them. You got it snug down with finger tight?
I got a finger tight on the bottom. The bottom ones, got a finger tight on the top.
Gotcha.
Bottom ones are a little gummy.
Okay, go ahead, boss.
Okay.
Keep coming. A little more. A little more. Right there.
Okay. Oh yeah, look at that. The butter.
Yep. Love it.
Love it, love it, love it. You know, besides the usual little things that you're gonna have, a misalignment here or a little bit of twist over there, our installations of the drivetrains are getting to be almost like clockwork. We're getting it down real well.
There's your nuts. I got your nuts there.
Give me a hand with my nuts.
Get hold of my nuts.
Good old Stan Lynch, man. He's a class act. Stan Lynch is a buddy of mine. I grew up with him and his brother Sly. They're both nuts. They both still live at home. Stan thinks he's a lot cooler than he really is. Whatever he's doing now, wherever he is in space, he's doing something that he thinks is really cool, but anybody who sees it, who happens to have a voyeuristic view of that, thinks he's out of his mind. So right now we got the rear end established in the car. Everything's bolted into place, so we're gonna raise it up, move the engine and transmission underneath the car, and we'll lower it back down again and reunite the car with the engine.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. I'm ready.
That's great. I'm ready too.
Want to guide it?
Yeah.
All right.
Look at that, like a Cadillac, huh?
I think it's worth coming down
Pretty
and
good
trying
starting
it.
point.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Okay, here we go.
Ready to go.
Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo. Does the upper radiator hose clear the lower tie bar?
Yeah, look at that, huh? Why about that
nice
much?
guesswork there. Got that killer laser eye going. Hey, how
Yeah,
we
you
doing?
got her. Yeah, you got her today.
Really?
Yeah, looks good. Keep going. Look at that. that was good aiming.
That's
right
absolutely
there,
insane. You know, sliding these drivetrains inside the car the way they're supposed to go and having the perfect alignment, it's great when it happens like that, and it saves a lot of time and a lot of trouble.
boss. Still too tight?
A little bit. There it goes.
Might need to kind of
Okay, we got her.
twist her a little bit there.
We got her started nicely there.
There you go.
Is that looking better over there?
Yeah, looks better over here. I go ahead and leave her there a second. We'll see.
Okay.
See what that'll do. See, and this one just will start.
So I've said many times, as one of these will fall together, the next one might fight you a little bit. Again, sometimes we can pry it up into place so we can get the bolts started. In this case, the jack didn't work.
Okay.
Do we need to let that one down some?
Yeah, I mean, I can almost pull it down. We could probably hit the bolts on it and suck the front down a little bit. See, this one right here will start like that. Whoop.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go underneath the tie bar. Let's go underneath
Want to go underneath
the
that?
drag link and we'll get this jacked up and in place.
Okay.
I got the dolly.
Uh-oh, man.
Okay, not gonna work. But let me put the machine on it and see if I can get it to
Yeah, and I got the... Yeah, you could maybe try the other side. Fits a little better, Mark.
Okay. Of course.
Of course, everything just drops down. The car sets right down on there perfect. But then as soon as you go to put the K-member bolts in, they don't line up. Well, that took care of that one.
Coming up, Mark charges ahead with a 440 Challenger engine build. Dave makes way for the 1970 Roadrunner's exhaust and dash. And finally, Mark and Dave installed a suspension and numbers matching 383. But will unexpected surprises derail them?
1964 Dodge pickup, 426 Hemi crate engine, 871 Mooneyham blower, dual 780 Demon carburetors, and that little jewel right there. We calls it the Little Dead Wagon. Check it out. Just picked this bad boy up, 1964 A100, original slant 6 truck. Now what's cool about these is, everybody that sees this that's a Mopar lover is gonna know Bill Maverick's Little Red Wagon, the wheel stander. We're gonna be building the same thing at Graveyard Carz. It's gonna be Graveyard Carz Little Dead Wagon. Play on words there. Gonna paint it black, gonna do some ghosty, macabre, goblin type of painting work on it, but we are gonna put a Mopar Performance crate engine. We're gonna build it with an 871 Mooneyham blower. It's gonna fit in the back just like Bill Maverick's did. But we are gonna put a 4-speed in it too, by the way, for those Mopar lovers out there. Gonna do a Hemi 4-speed 18 spline. Just come out and give that thing a little tap, a little gas, a little clutch, pop her up in the air, put some steering brakes on the back. I should be able to drive around this whole parking lot on my rear wheels. And that's important. Priorities. And I'll run some tires on the back, probably 18-inch wide tread, something that looks nostalgic for the era. And we'll have a real graveyard ghoul machine.
So far, Mark was pulled away from the 440 engine build to help Dave with the Roadrunner's numbers matching 383 installation. But after a perfect hole-in-one lineup on the engine compartment, the K-member is causing unexpected problems. And still to come, with Dave still needing to knock out the 1970 Roadrunner's exhaust and dash, will Mark be able to finally finish the Plum Crazy Challenger's 440 engine build?
Try and hold the damn thing. Of course, everything just drops down. The car sets right down on there perfect. Transmission looks great, but then as soon as you go to put the K-member bolts in, they don't line up. Yeah.
All right, let's just try raising it up, see what she does. One of these will fall together, the next one might fight you a little bit. Again, sometimes we can pry it up into place so we can get the bolts started. In this case, the jack didn't work. What we're gonna do is put the transmission cross member in it so the back is supported. The two front K-member bolts are almost seated all the way down. This way we can raise it up where we can get to it, use our pogo stick, run the back of that K-member up, and finish putting those two bolts in. All right, what do we gotta do here?
All right. Okay, the end one's on over there. Get one. Of course, you know, with any installation comes Murphy's Law. Of course, with these cars, they all have their own personality.
Boy, I knew the rear end went too easy. Huh?
Yeah. Should have trusted our instincts.
If everything's going smooth, you know something's gonna go wrong.
Of course, this one's right by the linkage.
I'm gonna let this down. I'm gonna move it right back on there, that cross member for you.
There you go.
Nice.
Got her?
Yep, got one of them anyway.
Okay.
And of course, we're struggling, you know, trying to get this K-member in this car. So then you gotta start loosening mounts and loosening up the engine mounts to kind of get this thing to pivot around. And of course, never fails, Murphy's Law. Little attitude adjustment there. All right, now we're in business.
Tighten the two fronties.
Yeah, and then we'll call her good. She'll hang in there.
So once you get out of the woods, get all the bolts in it, it starts looking like a car again. It's a very nice feeling to know that you're that much closer to the finish line. So we just finished putting in the drivetrain for the Roadrunner. All we really have left so that we can move it forward and start buttoning up the nose is to put the wheels and tires on. So that's what we're getting ready to do now, and we'll be done. Good job, by the way. Yeah. If you had the car come from the factory with what they call a styled wheel, that means you could see through it. You could see the drum or the disc through it. So if your car was optioned with a style wheel, like the road wheel, then you had to paint the back of the drum in this strange little pattern. They used a 2-inch chisel brush, red paint, and they went around the outside of the lug studs. And so when it was done and you put the wheel on, instead of seeing that cast iron, which quickly rusted, you would actually see that red paint, which gave it kind of a performance look.
Yeah, and your lug nuts are sitting right on that deal there, Mark. You got them.
Yeah.
You got them.
I had a client call me a while back that we did a car for, has the F60 15s like this on it.
Yeah.
And he had looked at the back of the wheel and saw there was a lot of weights on it. So he said the wheel was bent. He says all the wheels are bent. What makes you say that? Because of all the weights. Well, on a normal P-metric tire, I'd be worried about that, but on these old bias plies, they take a lot of weight. We have a bias ply tire, which is, in the case of most of these Mopars, they're a polyglass belt. Today's cars have steel belted radials for the most part. They're much more durable, they handle better, they carry the road better, they improve your mileage and the drivability of the car.
There's a lot of rubber on these tires.
Our goal is to get the Roadrunner mobile under its own power. So while I don't have the center caps and the beauty rings just yet, they're coming. This way we can put them on the car, get the car where it'll move around under its own power, basically while we push it. I'm gonna snag 5 of those critters from you.
See our nice red markings through the rims there. Be nice to see all the panels on this. And
this is a pretty car. I love the lemon twist yellow.
yeah, I love this color.
My cousin had a little 70 Barracuda 318. It's a neat car.
Yeah.
But it was lemon twist with white leather interior.
Oh, wow.
70 Grand Coupe Barracuda. Just this pretty little car. He couldn't wait to tear the living dog crap out of it. Just destroyed it.
Nice.
All right,
Look at that, huh?
that's it. We'll get her let down, move it forward, and start bolting the rest of it together. Good job. True or false? 1970 was the first year the Plymouth Roadrunner was available with a convertible top. You think you know the answer? Well, stay tuned after the break. So, true or false? 1970 was the first year the Roadrunner was available with a convertible top? That answer is false. That's a lie. 1969 was the very first year for the Roadrunner to become available with a convertible top. Now, if you watched Graveyard Cars last season, you saw a 69 Hemi-powered Roadrunner in seafoam turquoise. Very rare car. As a matter of fact, it's the only one in the world that was built like it. Now that we've got the drivetrain installed in our 70 Roadrunner, 383 4-speed lemon twist yellow, I can get back over on the 440 working on it. Dave has his hands full bolting all the rest of the pieces on that car, getting a little bit closer to having that one done. So now we can go ahead and seal our intake ports right here and place our intake manifold on. Like that. Take a look at this bolt right here. This is a correct original intake manifold bolt. You see that A on there? That's as right as rain, man. We have to have the throttle bracket. This is the correct throttle bracket for a 4-speed 1970. So it goes into place. The next thing that has to be in place is the throttle return. This is unique to 70. The hole you see here will have the PCV valve hose go through it. And this hole will receive one end of the throttle return spring. This tab goes into the cylinder head as a locating pin, and the intake bolt goes right through there. So this goes on right here. Now I'll come back to this real quick and I'll put our negative battery cable on it. But I want to get this side going before it sets up. You know, one of Chrysler's most iconic engines, I mean, the Slant 6 is on one end of the scale, the little 6-cylinder, because it was so durable and dependable. The 440 just proved itself to be a workhorse. You go back through the history of Graveyard Cars, and while some of them may have had a 6-pack bolted on them because they were a V-code car, It's the same engine. Look at our 1970 Dodge Challenger RT 446-pack 4-speed purple and white car. Beautiful car. That was a 440 in essence. Look at Tom Partridge. His 69 Dodge Charger Daytona 440 Magnum. Mike Hill's 1970 Superbird 444 barrel car. Big Bill Goldberg 68 Plymouth GTX 444 speed. I mean, the list goes on. So that was a staple in the Mopar muscle car lineup. It's a good engine. Here's our negative cable. This is the correct one. This goes underneath that bolt, and it gets painted orange at the same time the engine gets painted, which seems silly, but it's true. Over the years, I picked up a little bit each time I build an engine. I do a little bit more research. I mean, frankly, over the last 35, 40 years that I've worked on these cars, I've learned so much. The placement of a particular bolt or what the finish should be on it, what parts get painted on an engine, what ones don't, what ones should have a date code and what ones shouldn't. And just to prove that I learn every day, if you take the 440 I just did, I had to take this negative battery cable off because I had it at the very top, right underneath the bolt, then it went through the throttle return bracket, then to the manifold, then into the head. I just bought a 70 GTX 446 barrel Survivor car and learned that it actually gets sandwiched between the head and the throttle return bracket. So I had to switch that around. If you're not learning, I think you're going backwards. There are a lot of critics out there that say, why are you using the modern tools such as the battery powered ratchets? Because it's there. These little things have 25 foot-pounds of torque to them. If you just use the battery cycle on it and you don't physically reef it down, you're set at 25. Many of the torque settings on these engines are 25 pounds. And I got the feel that I can go a little more or when to back off if I need a little less. Next thing we're gonna put on is the valve covers. And then the last thing we're gonna put on is the exhaust manifolds, the water pump housing, and the harmonic balancer.
Right now I'm getting ready to install the OE Accurate exhaust system. It always goes really smooth. Don't expect too many troubles with this. Everything always lines up perfect. They do such a great job building this exhaust system out that it's a one-man job. When I say one-man job, I mean I use a bungee cord. That's like my partner in doing exhaust. It works out great, especially with your head pipes. I can stretch a bungee cord up on the top, stick the tail end of the head pipe in there, then I can move it around and slide it. I don't have to worry about it being rigid or falling off of anything because it just hangs there. I can get everything lined up, get my nut started on the exhaust manifolds and everything else, so it goes really smooth. So I'm a one-man crew with a bungee cord.
Gonna put our water pump and housing on, and our harmonic balancer, not necessarily in that order, and our exhaust manifolds. Exhaust manifold, pretty straightforward. You got your gasket. From the factory, they didn't use them, but things warp over time, so I like to put them on. I think it's a good thing. You know, I was putting the 440 together for the victim's car, calling the victim. Missing the right-hand exhaust manifold. And I don't know what happened to it. I'm telling you right now, if Tony can't get me one in the next couple of days, I'm taking the one off your car.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I most certainly
you're not.
am. Like a lot of things, they just grow legs around here.
Darren's original exhaust manifold. Looks great.
But I came to the rescue and rounded one up that had the right date code on it. The exhaust part.
Where's my manifold now?
Your manifold is on Kimberly's engine.
I'm going. I've had enough.
Note the 2951-865 right here. Correctamundo, Chrysler Pentastar. That little Pentastar calling out to you, telling you everything's gonna be okay. Okay, on this side, it gets just the manifold first, like that. Then, this protects the number 8 spark plug. So this one has to go in and on the exhaust manifold right there, just like that, and get tightened down into place.
Zinc's dash showed up finally. It always looks great from Instrument Specialties. Everything's perfect, it's OE correct. So we got the dash out of the box, put it on the stand. I get all my heater and defrost, my hot and cold cables and everything all set up in the dashboard. Go through, double check all my wiring, because sometimes in transit, some things come loose, stuff like that. So I want to make sure that everything looks really good, because once that thing goes into place, you don't want to crawl back underneath the dash and try to find wires and reconnect them and everything like that. So the more things I can get done ahead of time while it's in my face right there on the stand, the better.
So this is our separator for this side. Goes on right there. You'll notice this cutout right here goes right around the manifold and hugs it nicely. Okay, this one gets plug wire separator there. This one goes under there like that. Then you'll notice that there's this oddball little critter right here. This one goes on right there. And that's for our number 8 spark plug wire that gets routed down the valve cover, around the backside and onto that spot right there. So here we go. It's funny, while there's a million things going on in here on any given moment, building an engine, you gotta pay attention to what you're doing. But as I'm putting the engine together, I can't help but remember Darren.
You don't fool around, buddy, with that kind of stuff.
You know, there was a pitch he would hit with his voice.
You walk like a duck.
I walk like a duck. That's great. It wasn't just the message. It was the pitch he would have in it, right? And it didn't matter. I could hear it for miles. Like it was like dog sounds, like a dog whistle for me.
No, give me a gun. Give me a gun.
You'd have to pay some attention to what he did to really know what I mean.
It's fair.
You
don't shoot an unarmed person, Mark. You son of a...
Getting ready to put the dash in Zink's Roadrunner. Mark's busy in the engine room, so I don't want to bother him. So I'm going to head on into the body shop, grab George. It's a lot easier with 2 people. He can hold one end, I'll hold the other end. We'll feed it in there, get it bolted in, end of story. What I'm going to have George do is, while it's down, it's so much easier to access all the cables. So I'm actually going to hook up the cables onto the heater box while the dash is pulled forward. George is going to go ahead and hook up the speedometer cable because it's right there. All he's got to do is pull it in, snap it into place. Once all that's hooked up, kind of make sure all our wires are out of the way so when you swing it up, nothing gets pinched in there. So we swing it up into place, put those top bolts in, it's done.
All right, last 2 things is our water pump housing with the water pump built into it and our harmonic balancer cover. Okay, so this is gonna line up right down here. There's the keyway. Put it on about there. And we have our long bolt here. It's gonna go on. Last thing we got to put on here is our water pump. Again, we got our complete hardware kit right here. We got to be able to seal that water pump now, and then some of these bolts will come back out later and they'll hold the accessories on, like the alternator and the power steering pump, things like that. But for now, we need a good seal. In 1988, I drug this Challenger in from Philomath, Oregon. It had the engine in it, numbers matching engine, numbers matching transmission, and it ran. Shortly after I sold the car, another gentleman bought it, kept it in his garage for 10 years, and that's when Darren bought it. First thing he did was rebuild the engine. It's kind of funny because if you look back now, Darren wanted the biggest cam. He was compensating for something. He wanted the biggest cam.
2 reasons. 1, I'm extremely old. 2, I have a very tiny, tiny penis. But other than that, you know.
530 lift hydraulic cam. Well, when I took the heads off of it, you could see where the valves had caved in the tops of the pistons on all the pistons, and all the valves were bent. So we had to rebuild it. The good news is we didn't have to bore it anymore. It's a 30 over engine, and it's going to be absolutely durable. It's going to run like it's supposed to, and it still has life if it did need to be bored out down the road. All right, everybody, I got the water pump housing. The water pump I put on earlier, all I have left is the thermostat and the thermostat housing. Put our gasket down like that. There's a recess right there. You want to seat this down in that recess, turn it over. Then you can just grab the thermostat, let the housing hang, and you know you're going to be centered. It's like that. And the last spark plug wire retainer we have goes like this right here. It's like that. Ratchet it down. Click and clack. All right, folks, that's how you do it. Everything that has to go on this engine has to go on after it's painted orange. So the pieces that get painted are on there, Will will get this masked up, he'll prep it out, he'll get it painted, it'll come back over here. Then I can start putting the distributor, the carburetor, the wires, all the rest of the peripheral pieces on it, get it on the stand along with the transmission, and we'll be ready to put this in the car when the car is ready for it. Good job, everybody. Good job. I think we had a good week here. Almost everybody here got a lot done on the cars. I was so proud of Dave to work it well.
You said almost?
Yeah, you put 2 coats of clear down. Actually, one. I had to do one to show you how it was
No,
done,
I wouldn't.
so.
I got the whole car painted.
Yeah. Anyway, I noticed that was like for 2.5 hours on Monday. What happened the rest of the week? What were you doing?
You were with number 1 the whole week.
Numero uno and I were working on the Roadrunner. I got most of my time in on the 70 Challenger 440 engine. I finally got a chance to build that thing out and is now ready, completely ready to go into the car. So that's a good thing.
It's a gorgeous car.
Will laid out 1 coat of paint. Dave completely built out the 70.
Yep.
The 70. Whoa, we don't use the S word around here. What's with the hair, Samson? Is that where your strength now? Is that where you're getting all your strength from? Anyways, Dave did great on our 1970 Roadrunner. He got it all built out underneath it so that we could, we meaning him and I, could put the drivetrain in it.
Him.
Me and him put the drivetrain in it. And then I gave him the blessing to go ahead and build out the rest of the car.
I finally got the center console installed in Zink's Roadrunner. It's got to be one of my favorite parts of the whole car, you know, besides the N96. This center console is so unique. In 1970, you got that pistol grip 4-speed, and it just looks so fantastic in this console. You got the wood grain, you got chrome, you got carpet, you got the black plastic. And I mean, everything just falls together. It's awesome. I mean, there's not much more I could say. Mopar always does it best, and it shows right there in that center console. Zink's gonna be super stoked with this car, you know, when it's done. I mean, it's a brand new car, 1970. Be like just walking up on the lot, you know, and picking out your color, picking out your options and everything. It's beautiful. What's not to love about this car?
My favorite part is the 4-speed in those cars. Now, this car originally was a 3-speed car that the owner had, when he bought it, had been converted over to a D21. That's now the numeric code for the 4-speed.
Not the D22?
No, I don't remember a D22 anywhere in the
factory
lineup.
option on the yellow.
It could have been a D32, it could have been an automatic, or it could have been a D13, 3-speed manual. But it was the D21 that he converted over to, which featured the console style pistol grip shifter.
Right.
So cool. You ever row through the gears on one of them?
No, you don't let me drive a car seat.
Yeah, bad driver. He wrecked his sister's Volkswagen years ago.
You know, I'm done doing these. I didn't even touch the car.
Yeah, you burnt you.
This was 20 years ago.
He got a run underneath the mirror that little ants were skiing off of. I mean, I saw a whole little colony and they ski off of it. It's a big old run. I came in with a little bit of 220. Nobody cuts anything with 220 for a run.
Can we just cut all
Massaged
this?
it out to perfection. Malissimo.
Yeah, you massage something out to perfection.
Is that the fun? Did you hear the fun? Does your dig big? Peter Sellers. That's not my dog.